As a child, I was the naughtiest kid in the family. Once, when I took my younger siblings up the mountain to roast sweet potatoes, I accidentally set fire to a large section of our ancestral graveyard. The fire spread from my great-grandfather's grave, my great-grandmother's grave, to my eldest uncle's grave who passed away early. In total, 6 graves were engulfed. Dad pinned me over his knee and gave me a beating until my bottom was numb. For generations, our Lee family has never seen ancestral graves emit auspicious green smoke. Well, this time, you've seen it with your own eyes. After that, every night as I went to sleep, I would dream of a man in Qing Dynasty official robes standing at the head of my bed, staring at me with a face full of resentment. His face was ghastly pale, paler than a drowned corpse after 3 days. My bottom was so swollen from Dad's beating that I had to lie face down on the bed for a whole week, unable to get up. Mom, wiping away tears, brought food and water right to my bed, serving me while scolding Dad. How could you be so cruel? She's our only daughter, Dad grumbled. It's all because you spoiled her rotten. But Dad stopped hitting me and instead turned to give Grandma's dog, which she had raised for over a decade, a thorough beating. As I ate the bowl of fried egg noodles Mom cooked, tears streamed down my face. I clenched my fists silently. Lucky big sister caused you harm. When I grow up, I will definitely repay you. So delicious. Physical pain might be healed by a fried egg, but emotional wounds require a lifetime. From that day on, I started having nightmares. Every night, I dreamt of a young man in Qing Dynasty official robes standing at the head of my bed, his eyes staring intensely at me. His face was ghostly white, even whiter than the whitewashed walls Dad painted. His mouth was eerily red, as if he had just eaten raw meat. Back then, Lam Qingying's zombie movies were popular, and the zombies in those films all wore Qing Dynasty official robes, exactly like him. Luckily, my dog was very protective. Whenever the dog barked, that man would disappear. Under Lucky's protection, I managed to get by day after day. But Lucky was an old dog, after all. After living for over a decade, one day it suddenly left home and didn't return for several days. Later, villagers went up the mountain to chop firewood and found its body in a mountain crevice. Grandma said old dogs, knowing they're about to die, will find a place to hide, fearing their decaying scent might attract wild beasts to harm their owners. I hugged Lucky's body and cried loudly, forcing Dad to bury Lucky next to the ancestral graves, right beside Grandpa's newly repaired tomb. That night, without Lucky on guard, the man in Qing Dynasty official robes returned. Terrified, I went out into the yard and imitated a dog's bark, but the man didn't seem to be afraid of me. I barked for hours, but he still didn't leave. The next morning, Grandma and my parents were scared out of their wits, claiming I was possessed, and informed the village chief. The village chief took it very seriously and immediately invited a Taoist master. The Taoist master declared that our Lucky was still clinging to the family, unwilling to leave, and thus was tormenting me. After that, they tied me to the ancient tree at the village entrance and performed an exorcism ritual for 3 days straight. I truly screamed my head off. Dad, Mom, Grandma, I'm really not possessed. Grandma tenderly wiped my tears. Be a good girl, Lena, just bear with it a little longer and you'll be fine. Nothing unclean will ever bother you again. But I clearly saw the man in Qing Dynasty official robes hiding behind the bushes, secretly watching me. He was laughing so hard his shoulders were shaking. I pointed at him, crying to Grandma, Grandma, there's a man over there, he's laughing. The man heard this and immediately shrank back behind the bush. Grandma saw no one and looked at me worriedly. Lena, don't scare Grandma like that. Taoist Master Lee, what should we do about this? The middle-aged man called Taoist Master Lee shouted loudly, Audacious demon, don't be so arrogant. Then he brandished his peach wood sword, stuck a yellow talisman, spat a mouthful of wine onto it, and with a whoosh, the talisman burst into flames. Demons and evil spirits begone. Demons and evil spirits begone? Tears welled up in my eyes as I watched the Taoist master's actions. I really wanted to cry out loud. After what felt like an endless torment, the Taoist master said I had to be exposed to the sun, to use the midday yang energy to suppress the evil spirits on me. Just then, it was lunchtime, and everyone in the village dispersed. My mother and grandmother, feeling quite relieved, said they had to go home to cook for me. Dad even invited Taoist Master Lee back home for a drink. In an instant, only I and the ancient tree remained at the village entrance. I twisted my arms, wanting to break free, but alas, I couldn't escape. Feeling so wronged, I couldn't help but scream and cry uncontrollably. Wah! I had only been crying for 2 hours when the man in Qing Dynasty official robes somehow appeared right in front of me. Seeing my miserable crying, a hint of glee appeared on his pale face. Heh, I sniffled loudly. Why you caused all this and you can still laugh? The man seemed surprised to hear me speak. You can see me. I cried even more miserably. How could I not see you looking like that? You're a ghost, aren't you? Can you please stop haunting me? I'm really scared. The man gave a cold laugh when he heard that. No, you burned my coffin. I am a zombie, not a vengeful spirit with a specific grievance. You burned my coffin, so I must haunt you. It turned out that the fire I started that year didn't just burn down 6 of my family's ancestral graves. I had also accidentally burned down someone else's ancient tomb. This zombie, Nalan Hongxu, had been dead for over 200 years. He was from the Qing Dynasty, became a Jinshi imperial scholar at 17, and served as a regional official. Unfortunately, he suddenly contracted a severe illness and died, being buried here to rest in peace. Because he was buried in a place of extreme yin and absorbed the essence of the sun and moon for hundreds of years, this zombie gradually gained some spiritual cultivation. So, that day when I set the mountain on fire, the heat awakened him. Knowing the truth, I cried even more miserably. Other people get haunted by vengeful spirits, but I'm haunted by an old zombie. Oh, I asked the old zombie, what do you want for you to let me go? Can I replace your coffin? The old zombie said, yes. 1,000-year-old ebony coffin, personally bestowed by the emperor, you go get it. Although I was young at the time, I had some awareness of my financial capabilities. I hesitantly asked him, is 50 cents enough? That's my daily allowance, not a small amount, you know. But as I uttered these words, I successfully watched the old zombie's face turn from pale to black. Not only was his face as black as the bottom of my family's cooking pot, but his mouth grew fangs, and his fingernails lengthened several times over. I was terrified, remembering his eerily red mouth, and screamed uncontrollably in fear. Help! The old zombie eats children. Of course, the old zombie didn't eat me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here rambling to you all. Although he was an old zombie, he could be considered a reasonable one, an educated man after all. Politely, under my desperate pleas, he released me from the tree. After that, I dragged my weak, aching body to the village convenience store and used the 50 cents I hadn't spent yet to buy 5 bubble gum balls. As a child, I'm sure everyone remembers this kind of gum. Round, looking like small watermelons with white stripes, sold in a huge clear plastic jar. Different colors meant different flavors. I bought one of each flavor, then sat by the river with the old zombie and we shared them. I said, you get one, I get one. I get one, I get another one, and I'll take one more. All gone. The old zombie looked at the single watermelon-flavored candy in his hand, and his expression immediately darkened. Why do I only have one and you have 4? I clutched my pile of candies, trembling. But this is my allowance, I bought them. Plus, I'm a child, I'm at a growing age, I need to eat a lot. The old zombie glared at me. This seems to be a snack. Also, didn't you say you wanted to replace my coffin? I snatched the watermelon-flavored candy from his hand. If you don't like it, don't eat it. I already told you I'm a child. How can a child have money to pay? Your coffin looks expensive. I'll pay you back when I grow up and earn a lot of money, okay? The old zombie looked at me skeptically. Really? I declared brazenly. Of course, it's real. The old zombie hesitated for a moment, then decided to trust me this once. All right, but those candies, you have to share half with me. Then he snatched 2 candies from my hand, popped them into his mouth, imitating my chewing, and chewed away. Then he blew a huge bubble. I was stunned. He was really good at blowing bubbles. My parents and grandmother, after inviting the Taoist master for a meal, came out and were terrified when they didn't see me. Grandma strained her neck, calling out, Lena, where are you? Don't scare Grandma. The old zombie and I hid in the bushes, refusing to come out. HMPH, mean Grandma, you tied me to the tree and didn't save me. I won't pay attention to you anymore. Then Grandma brought out an enamel mug, opened its lid, and said loudly, Grandma brought you a big chicken drumstick, and your favorite pickled radish with chicken gizzard stir-fried with sour long beans. Lena, come back here quickly. Ah, the aroma of food wafted through the air. Even from a distance, I could smell that savory, sour, spicy scent that made my nose twitch. My drool, disloyal to its owner, kept dribbling from the corners of my mouth. I was about to forgive Grandma and crawl out of the bushes. The old zombie pulled me back. Didn't you say you wouldn't pay attention to her anymore? I replied. Oh, come on, if there's a ladder, just climb down. That's how people are, you have to learn to compromise. Grandma, I'm here. Then I stumbled and ran towards Grandma. Grandma tenderly hugged me. Lena, where did you run off to? The exorcism isn't even finished yet. I take back what I just said. I don't want to pay attention to you anymore, Grandma, boo-hoo. Luckily, Mom, seeing my poor complexion, had pity on me and said, I think Lena is much better now, let's just stop. How can such a small child endure this torment? Lucky was so loyal, even if he came back, he wouldn't truly harm her. Grandma and Dad thought Mom had a point, so I escaped the fate of being tied to the ancient tree at the village entrance for another exorcism. That night, as I went to sleep, the old zombie secretly crept into my room and stood at the head of my bed, watching me. But this time, he didn't scare me. Instead, he talked to me and told me stories from his past. He really was good. Although he was my creditor, I already considered him my best friend. I patted the edge of the bed. Do you want to sit down and talk? The old zombie looked at me awkwardly. We zombies can't bend our knees. As an old zombie who had been dead for over 200 years, buried in corpse-nourishing soil, lying in an ebony coffin, absorbing the essence of the sun and moon, and eating the bubble gum I bought, his cultivation was truly extraordinary. Aside from not being able to bend his knees, his mind was no different from a normal person. At that time, I was still in elementary school and didn't know many characters. The old zombie couldn't stand it anymore. He picked up my textbook and personally taught me. Under the moonlight, the old zombie stood at the head of my bed, holding my book, shaking his head and reciting, Before my bed, the moon's light gleams, a frosty carpet on the floor it seems. I raise my head to gaze at the bright moon, then drop it, longing for my hometown soon. I asked, Wow, you're amazing. You're swaying like that, and your hat doesn't fall off. The old zombie clasped his hands behind his back, his face stern and dignified like an old scholar. A student must not interrupt the teacher's lecture. Next time, I will cane your hand. I almost died laughing. Didn't he know elementary school kids like us were all mischievous little devils? Do you think you're a real teacher? Our teacher is a beautiful young lady, nothing like you. The old zombie said proudly, Years ago, I was the top asterisk Jinshi in the imperial exams. Teaching a child like you is a waste of my talent. Hurry up and read or I'll cane you. I didn't understand. Why would someone who'd been dead for so many years still want to teach others? I don't know, maybe he died too early and had no entertainment. His only joy was to lead a little kid like me by the nose. Oh no, his debtor. To cooperate with him, I had to imitate him, shaking my head while reading. Before my bed, the moon's light gleams. Life isn't easy. A primary school student sighed. Aside from forcing me to read and stealing my snacks, the old zombie actually treated me very well. I ordered him to go down to the river to catch fish, climb trees for bird eggs, and pick fruit from trees. The old zombie could leap tens of meters in a single bound, moving as fast as the wind. He was very suitable for these tasks. We also roasted sweet potatoes in the fields and flew kites together. The old zombie had a psychological complex about roasting potatoes. He stood far away, not daring to get close. Every time, I had to finish roasting them and hand-feed him before he would eat. He was tall and jumped fast, so when the kite was tied to him, it would soar straight into the sky. Sometimes, after we caught fish, he would stand nearby flying a kite, and I would sit beside him roasting fish. He also taught me to write Chinese characters on the sandy bank. After all, he was my creditor, so he was always very strict about my studies. I knew I couldn't renege on this debt. If you owe someone a coffin, you have to pay it back. As a rural child, farming my whole life wouldn't be enough to repay it. Only by studying hard and achieving success could I hope to, so I studied diligently, regardless of rain or wind, leaving early and returning late. Others studied for the rise of China. I studied to repay the old zombie's coffin. Under the old zombie's strict tutelage, my handwriting became increasingly beautiful, making all my teachers look at me differently. Lena Lee, your handwriting last semester was like chicken scratch. How did it become so beautiful after just half a semester? I, neither arrogant nor hot-headed, honestly answered the teacher's question. Normally, I go to the riverside to practice writing on the sand. Mainly, the time spent roasting fish and sweet potatoes was too long, so I practiced writing to kill time. Before going to bed every night, I also write a page of characters. I don't go to sleep until I've finished writing. Actually, I didn't want to practice, but the old zombie wouldn't let me sleep. The teacher was moved to tears, even calling the principal over. How can there be such a self-motivated and studious student? This child will surely achieve great things in the future. Then they asked me to write a calligraphy piece to submit for a county-level competition, and I even won an award, receiving a set of stationery as a prize. The school also gave me an additional reward of 5 yuan. 5 yuan? For a child like me, who only had 50 cents in allowance every day, this was an enormous sum. The day I received the money, I skipped home, overjoyed, and gave all 5 yuan to the old zombie. Hey, this is all the prize money I earned from my handwriting, it's all for you. I know this isn't enough to buy your coffin, but I'll definitely work harder. The old zombie looked at me, dripping with sweat, then at the 5 yuan in my hand. He smirked and said, 5 yuan, huh? Then buy me a bottle of soda to drink. The soda the old zombie mentioned was the kind sold in glass bottles with 3 flavors, Fanta, Sprite, and Coca-Cola. In summer, they were chilled in the freezer. After opening the cap, you'd ask the owner for a straw and slurp, slurp, slurp. It was incredibly delicious. The price was sky-high, 50 cents a bottle. Before, when I spent my allowance alone, I would occasionally splurge. But ever since the old zombie became my creditor, I had never bought this luxury item again. Hearing the old zombie, I was wildly tempted, licking the corner of my mouth, but still hesitated. That's not good, though. This money is for your coffin, the old zombie said generously. It's all right, the coffin is ruined anyway. What flavor do you want to drink? Of course Fanta for me. I bought 2 bottles of soda, 1 Coca-Cola and 1 Fanta. The old zombie and I sat on the small bridge, swinging our legs, drinking with straws. I slurped. The old zombie slurped. I said, you should burp too. The old zombie asked me why it tasted better if I burped. The old zombie imitated me, let out a burp, and his eyes curved into crescent moons. I asked him if it was good. He said it was. I pulled a bottle cap from my pocket and gave it to him. Here, for you, let's get 1 more bottle as a reward. If it weren't for you teaching me to write, I wouldn't have any prize money. You drink another bottle. The remaining 4 yuan, we have to save that. That's for your coffin. The old zombie was extremely touched. He then told me to take the bottle cap and exchange it for another Fanta, my favorite, and to ask for 2 straws so we could share it. Somehow, the news of me winning the calligraphy award at the county level reached the village chief. The village chief grabbed the loudspeaker and announced throughout the village, everyone, stop what you're doing for a moment. Stop what you're doing. Li Changgui's daughter, Lena Li from our village, has won an award in the county-level handwriting competition. Teachers presented certificates of merit and even awarded fountain pens and notebooks. What does this prove? It proves that our Li family village has good feng shui. Li Changgui's family has been poor farmers for 3 generations. Neither he nor his wife even finished primary school, yet his daughter can write so beautifully. Your children can too. After that, a trend of practicing beautiful handwriting sparked in our village. My parents, upon hearing the news, were somewhat skeptical and asked me, Lena, you didn't cheat or forge anything, did you? I felt terribly wronged. Dad, Mom, I really didn't cheat. My dad didn't believe me, so he made me a sand tray. All right, then write in front of Dad, Mom, and Grandma. Right then, it's not like I don't write every day anyway. I picked up a twig and wrote a few characters on the sand tray. After watching, my dad was agitated for a while. My mom watched, her eyes welling up with tears. My grandmother watched, then immediately thanked the ancestors for their blessings. Lena, how did you learn to do this? My daughter has such great talent. I didn't dare tell the truth about this. How could I tell them? Every day I'm hanging out with an old zombie, and he even pushes me to study hard and improve. After a moment's thought, I decided to tell half the truth. Telling half isn't lying, I'm still a good girl. It's since that exorcism, every night someone comes to teach me to write and read. If I don't write beautifully, they don't let me sleep. My dad excitedly grabbed my shoulders. What does that person look like? I said. He looks quite old. My dad immediately burst into tears, moved. It must be our old ancestor Li showing his spirit. The ancestors are blessing us. Our Li family ancestral graves are emitting auspicious green smoke. If I remembered correctly, the village chief had just loudly announced over the loudspeaker that our Li family had been poor farmers for 3 generations and had never produced an educated person. The old zombie said, under great fame, there are no untalented individuals. Since you're already famous, you must work even harder. Originally, every night before bed, I only had to write 1 page of characters, but now it became 2. At that time, I was still young, and sometimes I didn't want to write, deliberately staying in bed. The old zombie would then bare his sharp fangs to scare me. I asked the old zombie, zombies in movies always drink blood, why don't you? Do you eat children? The old zombie shook his head. No, I don't eat. I only need to absorb the essence of the sun and moon, I said, then spit out my bubble gum, soda, shrimp crackers, sea candy, spicy strips, and jelly pouches. Because my teachers and the old principal kept making me enter calligraphy competitions, my prize money increased significantly. Under the old zombie's constant encouragement, my academic performance also topped the class. Every time, I only brought home certificates of merit and physical prizes. My parents and grandmother had no idea I received cash prizes, and they even doubled my allowance. During every festival, adult relatives would see my wall plastered with certificates and tell their own children, "Look at Lena from the Lee family, then look at yourself. All you do is play." I successfully became the child from another family, creating a stark contrast with the local rowdy kids who only knew how to chase chickens and tease dogs. Wherever I went, I was praised as a good child. Amidst the praises of the village elders, the red scarf on my chest seemed to glow even brighter. But as they say, things carried to an extreme turn into their opposite. Because I was too much of a good student, Scamp, the leader of the village kids, had been annoyed with me for a long time. A few days before, during exams, I came first in class and Scamp came last. Bitter, he led a few of his followers to block my way by the river. The old zombie was coincidentally catching fish for me in the river. Seeing people approach, he submerged himself. He didn't breathe, so no bubbles rose from under the water. Scamp saw me making a fire by the river and rushed over, kicking my bonfire apart. "Lena Lee, what's your deal? Are you going to let anyone else live?" I looked bewildered. "Scamp, what are you talking about? I don't understand." Scamp grabbed my collar and lifted me up. He was taller and bigger than me with a ferocious expression, but when he spoke, his voice was choked with sobs. "It's bad enough you write so beautifully, but why are you so good at exams too? Why do you have to come in first place? My dad hit me." His followers behind him also voiced their various grievances. My dad hit me too. I looked innocent. "But what does that have to do with me?" Scamp angrily yelled. "Next time, you're not allowed to come in first. Otherwise, I'll beat you up. I hit people really hard, you know." Scamp had no idea about the concept of hitting people hard. Perhaps seeing me now, so refined and bookish, he had forgotten. Before him, *I was the leader of the village kids. He had long forgotten about me setting fire to 6 of my own ancestral graves with a single spark. Before he finished speaking, I punched him once, and blood gushed from his nose. "I hit people hard too, you know." I wasn't bluffing. I really did hit people hard, and I was very effective at it. The old zombie once taught me, "If you don't offend me, I won't offend you. But if someone offends me, dig up their ancestral graves." Scamp cried out in pain from my beating. His followers tried to run, but I grabbed each one by the collar and dragged them back. I stepped on Scamp and asked his followers, "Who's the boss now?" They were so scared they peed their pants. You're the boss. Next time, can I still come in first place?" They chorused, "You're first place." "You're the best in the world?" I smiled, gave each of them a candy, warned them not to talk about today's events, and finally didn't forget to encourage them. "Next time there are exams, whoever comes in last, I'll beat them up. Whoever improves, I'll give them candy." Then I waved my hand grandly. "Now, scram." Scamp and his friends, seeing my gesture, tucked tail and ran off. The old zombie only surfaced from the water after everyone had left, his clothes, hat, and hair completely drenched. Under the gloomy sky, combined with his pale, bloodless face, he looked both pathetic and terrifying. I said, "I have a bonfire. Let me warm you up." He said, "Men and women should not touch. It's an insult to a scholar." I rolled my eyes. "Oh, please, I'm only 8 years old." Then the old zombie took off his official robes, revealing only his shorts. I said, "Nalan, you're really white. White face, white body, white hands, white legs. From now on, I'll call you Little White, okay?" The old zombie replied, "That sounds like a dog's name." I said, "No, it doesn't. My dog's name is Lucky." The old zombie suddenly asked me, "Lena Lee, what do you want to be when you grow up?" I smiled and said, "I want to go to university, then earn money, lots and lots of money to buy you a coffin." The old zombie scoffed, "Vulgar. Every common man is responsible for the rise and fall of the nation. A scholar must prioritize protecting the country and revitalizing the state." I said, "Old brother, the Qing Dynasty is over." For us, the Qing Dynasty is over might just be a casual remark, but for the old zombie, it was a knife straight to the heart. He was heartbroken and depressed. He didn't wait for me after school and stopped urging me to practice writing before bed. For several days, I didn't see him, and I worried he might have been captured by a Taoist master or someone else. After school, I didn't even bother putting away my backpack. I ran straight up to the ancestral graveyard mountain to find him. Since a corner of the old zombie's coffin had been burned by me previously, he simply found a cave to stay in. At night, he'd drag it out and sleep inside, absorbing the moonlight. During the day, he'd drag it back in. At this moment, he was lying silently inside the coffin, with the lid closed in the cave. I knocked on the coffin lid. Knock, 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 anyone home? A muffled voice from inside the coffin replied, "No. But aren't you right there?" I pulled out a lollipop and pushed it through the burned hole. "Oh, well then I guess I'll just eat this lollipop myself." With a whoosh, the lollipop was snatched inside. I then pulled out some jelly and gum, shaking them in front of the hole. All of them were taken inside. I rolled my eyes and played my trump card. "New flavor spicy strips, I bet you haven't tasted these." A fair, clean hand reached out from the hole. I seized the opportunity and firmly grasped his hand. "Wow, your hand is so cold, like an ice cube." I frowned but didn't let go. Gasp asterisk. "It's so cold." I breathed warm air onto his hand. "Is it cold?" The old zombie pushed the coffin lid open and sat up, looking at me. "Lena Lee, are you foolish? I've been dead for over 200 years. I've been freezing for ages," I said. "Oh, you know you've been dead for over 200 years. So what does the fall of the Qing Dynasty have to do with you?" The old zombie looked tearful and very wronged. I quickly apologized. I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that, I'm sorry. Look, I even bought you so many delicious things, it cost a lot of money. That money was originally meant to buy you a coffin." The old zombie was easily appeased. Hearing my words, he immediately forgave me. He sat in the coffin, eating the snacks I bought. I suddenly became curious about the old zombie's coffin. "Your coffin is really big. Move over a bit, let me try lying in it." The old zombie, eating jelly, frowned. "The living must not lie in the coffin of the dead." I looked unfazed. "Grandma told me, coffin, rise in rank and get rich. Don't be so stingy. Only if I get rich can you have a new coffin to lie in." Although I was still a child, my obsession with getting rich was already deeply ingrained. The old zombie's coffin was both large and comfortable. Inside, it was lined with several layers of silk blankets, and beside him were some burial items he took with him: jewels, the 4 treasures of the study, brush, ink, paper, inkstone, and various cultural artifacts and books. I picked up his court beads, put them around my neck, and asked, "Pretty, aren't they? The beads are so long." The old zombie wrapped them around me twice, making them look nice. I then took some of the books buried with him from the coffin and flipped through them, clicking my tongue. "You're really studious, reading even after death." Unexpectedly, after flipping for a while, I found drawings. They were of 2 people fighting, but neither of them was wearing clothes. The old zombie's expression suddenly changed. "What nonsense are you flipping through?" He snatched the book back. I was confused. "Isn't it a comic book? What's so strange about it, though their postures are really peculiar?" The old zombie glared at me. "Silence, that's a spring palace painting to ward off fire. When I died, I hadn't married yet, and my mother was afraid I wouldn't understand things down there, so she had this book buried with me." I didn't understand what to ward off fire meant, but hadn't married yet, I understood. Simply put, he was a lifelong bachelor, right? Excited, I told the old zombie, "In our town, there's Madame Bai's funeral supply shop that sells paper offerings. Let me ask the owner to make you a paper wife." The old zombie probably thought I was talking too much and ignored me. I played for a while, got tired, and just rolled over and fell asleep. When I woke up, I found myself in my own bed at home, still wearing the old zombie's obviously expensive court beads around my neck. I didn't know if he had forgot to take them back or intended to give them to me. Although the old zombie had a bad temper, I didn't blame him. I was racking my brain over his marital affairs. That weekend at the town market fair, I actually went to find Madame Bai at the paper offering shop. The owner was an old lady. Seeing a tiny child like me asking for a paper figure, she thought I was joking. "Go home, little girl, your family will worry." I pulled out the prize money I had saved up, totaling several tens of yuan. "Grandma, I really want a paper figure. I have a friend who died early. He didn't have a wife, so I want to make him one." The old lady saw my sincerity, was very moved, and agreed to make one for me on the spot. Fearing someone would discover it, I wrapped the paper figure in cloth and took it back to the village first, then eagerly went to find the old zombie. Nalan, look, I brought you a wife." The old zombie looked at me, then at the paper figure I brought, and was utterly horrified. Too ugly." I looked at the paper wife in my hand and frowned. "What's ugly about her?" "She has fair skin, big round eyes, willow leaf eyebrows, and bright red lips." Then I shoved the paper wife straight into the old zombie's arms. Go on, hug her. It was clear the old zombie really disliked the paper wife I bought, but it was the thought that counted, a goose feather sent from 1,000 miles away. He couldn't reject it or throw it away. So he placed the paper wife next to his coffin. Every day when he woke up, he would see the paper wife standing beside him, smiling. That image was too beautiful, I dared not look. One year, my village experienced a major flood and the water submerged the small bridge. To go to school, we absolutely had to cross the bridge. Children from several villages were stuck at the bridgehead, all in a panic. If we can't cross the bridge, we can't go to school, right? I put on a regretful face. Oh dear, I don't want to either, but we really can't cross. I guess I'll just go home then. Before I finished speaking, the old zombie had already carried me on his back. Then, with a single leap *whoosh*, he transported me to the other side of the river. His movements were very fast, like the wind. He also knew to choose secluded spots so no one noticed his actions. I was about to cry again. Why, you, what are you doing? The old zombie said. Regardless of rain or wind, one must not be lazy. Then he urged me to school. That day, because of the high water, students from all directions within 10 miles had stayed home from school. When the teacher saw me, he was astonished. Lena Lee, you are so eager to learn, I am so touched. Teacher, please don't be touched so quickly. Actually, I didn't really want to come. With the old zombie's companionship, my childhood was infinitely more complete. Later, I passed the entrance exam for the best middle school in the county. Because I studied in an outer district, I had to take the bus for over half an hour every day. The old zombie carried me on his back, moving as fast as the wind. The journey that took the bus over half an hour, he completed in just 10 minutes. The high school entrance had many more delicious foods than the village primary school gate: grilled sausages, fried battered chicken, cotton candy, jelly, bubble tea. The prize money from high school was also much more than primary school, plus the breakfast money and bus fare my parents gave me. Every day, we would buy delicious treats. The old zombie and I would hold cups of bubble tea, sitting on the rooftop of the teaching building under the sunset, tilting our faces up 45 degrees to catch the wind. It was both sweet and melancholic. If we keep this up, when will we save enough money to buy you a new coffin? By middle school, I was already a 13-year-old girl, no longer as naive as when I was little. I knew that the old zombie's ebony coffin was not only expensive, but also a priceless treasure. My meager scholarship money definitely won't be enough to pay for it. Better to eat and drink well, then figure something else out. The old zombie said, "It's all right, it can still be used." He was definitely comforting me. What zombie wouldn't want a good coffin to shield them from rain and wind? Later, I continued to diligently pursue my studies. As the number of competitions I entered and my exam results increased, my scholarship money also grew. During this time, my parents got rich by raising pigs, bought a house in the county town, and our whole family moved to the city. The old zombie, as my creditor, had to follow me. But his coffin was too big. He couldn't take it, so he had to leave it in the mountain cave. Normally, he would hide in my bedroom closet. If someone came, he would climb a tree to hide or hide in the attic. My parents and grandmother never knew, from beginning to end, that I was hiding a zombie in my room. The year I took my university entrance exams, I was admitted as the top student in the province to both Tsinghua and Peking University, receiving admission letters from both simultaneously. The university also awarded me a huge sum of money. I was uncontrollably excited. I'm rich, I can buy you a new coffin now." The old zombie, however, didn't look very happy. "No need to buy a new one. New clothes aren't as good as old, and new people aren't as good as old." I still prefer my old coffin. I thought about it, and he was right. After all, he had been lying in that coffin for so many years, he must have developed feelings for it. "All right, then let's go back and find a skilled carpenter to repair it for you, okay?" The old zombie nodded and smiled happily. We went back to the village to find the most skilled carpenter, repeatedly urging him to keep it a secret. The carpenter readily agreed and followed us up the mountain to the cave. But there, we found a group of people putting up warning ropes and moving in and out of the cave. I looked at the tags on their chests. They seemed to say, "Provincial Archaeological Team." I looked at the old zombie looked at me. Our eyes met, and crows flew overhead, cawing, cawing. The cave where the old zombie kept his coffin had been discovered by the archaeological team. His coffin was deemed a cultural relic and taken to the museum for research. After his coffin was damaged by fire, the old zombie now suffered the pain of losing it entirely. Even the paper wife I made for him was taken away. I paid the old carpenter and saw him off. Seeing no one around, the old zombie buried his head on my shoulder and sobbed uncontrollably. I'm so sad. My coffin is gone, all my burial items are lost, and even my paper wife is nowhere to be found. It was truly heartbreaking to hear, enough to bring tears to one's eyes. I quickly comforted him. It's okay, you still have me. Now I have money, I can buy you a new coffin, and I can buy you so many delicious foods too. He turned to look at me, displaying a helpless, fragile demeanor. Lena Lee, you're all I have left. You won't abandon me, will you? I patted my chest and assured him. Of course not. Our bond of over a decade isn't a joke. I definitely won't abandon you. The old zombie bowed his head and rubbed his face against my neck, whimpering softly. All right, Lena Lee, those were your very own words, remember that. I took out the court beads he had given me earlier and told him, oh, right, I looked this up online. These beads are very valuable. A similar string was auctioned for tens of millions. Do you want them back? The old zombie shook his head. I already gave them to you, just consider them as. His voice trailed off and I couldn't hear clearly. I leaned closer and asked, as what? He lowered his voice and whispered into my ear. His voice was both soft and sweet, a token of our love. I froze for 5 seconds, my face turning as red as a boiled shrimp. It turned out this old zombie had fallen for me back when I was just a snot-nosed kid who only knew how to demand bubble gum. I stammered, Hey Nalan, were you setting a trap for me? I was only 8 years old back then. You're an old bull eating young grass. Nalan Hongxu blinked his narrow, phoenix-like eyes, his expression innocent. I didn't force you. You grabbed it yourself and put it around your neck. Besides, I waited for you to grow up. I waited for 10 years. He said it so casually, but hearing it, my heart trembled strangely. His 10 years might not seem like much compared to 200 years lying in a cold tomb. But those were 10 years he watched me grow up, from a mischievous little girl to a university valedictorian. I clutched the beads around my neck, cleared my throat, and put on a creditor's air. All right, a token of love is a token of love, but let me warn you first. Raising you will cost a lot of food and rice, so you better be well behaved. Nalan's lips curved upward, his smile more radiant than the full moon in August. As you command, my lady. Without a coffin, and unable to stay in the cave, I decided to bring Nalan with me to the city for university. With my valedictorian prize money and years of savings, I rented a luxurious apartment near the university. The first thing I did was install the thickest, 100% blackout curtains to protect Nalan's fair skin during the day. The second thing was to arrange his sleeping place. I found a carpentry workshop specializing in high-end furniture and ordered a box bed made of red sandalwood. Although this wood wasn't as good as 1,000-year-old ebony, it was still excellent quality. The exterior looked exactly like a luxurious horizontal wardrobe, but inside, it was lined with incredibly soft, embroidered silk brocade mattresses. The day it was delivered, Nalan circled the modern coffin 3 times, scrutinizing it. The wood is too new and the paint smell hasn't completely faded. I glared at him. In this day and age, land is scarce and precious. Having your own private space in the heart of the capital is already incredibly luxurious. If you don't want to lie in it, then go sit on the sofa. Nalan immediately leaped in, lay stiffly with his hands neatly placed on his stomach. It's acceptable for now. It smells of money. I like it. My student life began, and Nalan's domestic life began. During the day, I went to school, and Nalan stayed home binge-watching shows. He watched everything from palace intrigue dramas to reminisce about his homeland, to American zombie movies to learn from experience. Once, when I came home, I saw him wearing dark sunglasses, dressed in a hoodie with the hood pulled up, practicing hip-hop walking in front of the mirror. Do you think this walk looks modern? I burst out laughing. It looks a lot like rappers about to debut. Although he couldn't go out during the day, Nalan took exceptionally good care of me. Every morning, I would wake up to find toothpaste already squeezed onto my brush and my clothes neatly ironed. He didn't need to eat, but he learned to cook online, and his culinary skills became increasingly superb. At night, when the city lights came on, it was our time to be active. Nalan no longer wore his official robes. He wore a white shirt, dress pants, and the watch I bought him with my first month's part-time salary. He now looked no different from a male lead out of a romance novel, except his hands were a bit cold and he had no breath. We walked hand in hand under the trees on campus or sat on the rooftop gazing at the moon. Little White, you're so handsome. Aren't you afraid other female ghosts will snatch you away if you go out? Nalan squeezed my hand tightly, our fingers intertwined. In my eyes, living women or female ghosts are all the same, only you are different. Time passed. I graduated from university, started working, and became a successful woman. My parents back home still thought I was happily single, constantly urging me to get married. Each time, I would look at the man who remained as youthful as the day we first met, sitting there peeling an apple for me. Time was cruel to humans, but forgot him. One night, looking in the mirror, I noticed faint wrinkles appearing at the corners of my eyes, and I suddenly felt a pang of sadness. Nalan, later, when I grow old, my skin will wrinkle, my hair will turn white, and I'll walk slowly, while you'll still be young like this. We'll look so mismatched. Nalan put his book down, came over and hugged me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder, looking into the mirror. He didn't say flowery, empty words, he simply kissed my hair gently. Have you forgot? I'm a zombie, I can carry you. When you were little, I carried you to school, carried you across the river. Later, when your legs are weak from old age, I will still carry you to admire flowers and stroll through the streets. Even if your hair turns white or your teeth fall out, in the eyes of someone who has lived for 2 centuries like me, your soul will always be the same mischievous sweet potato, roasting girl from all those years ago. Besides, he chuckled mischievously, I'll only be at ease when you get old. If you keep being so beautiful and talented, keeping you by my side will be exhausting. I used my savings to buy back the piece of land with the old cave in our hometown and built a vacation villa there. The archaeological team had left long ago, leaving the cave empty. I placed a meticulously carved double coffin of ancient red wood inside. Nalan asked, "Why a double coffin? It's too spacious for me alone." I winked. "It's reserved. 100 years from now, when I close my eyes forever, I'll crawl in there and lie next to you." "And you're not allowed to call me a wrinkled old lady then?" Nalan looked at me, his deep, affectionate gaze holding a myriad of stars. He leaned down and placed a cold kiss on my lips, yet it was filled with tenderness. To live under the same quilt, to die in the same grave. Lena Lee, the coffin debt from all those years ago, you have paid it in full with this entire lifetime.